and a half apart in their PB times, so might be a really close one.
Yeah, it's definitely really close. Man, this is going to be interesting because Emimi is somebody who I've known for a long time, and he's he's played as a character.
Yeah.
But he's a master of things like the demon and doom demon modes. That's what he used to play this game mostly for. He's never was much of a real speedrunner of it because he didn't like the mortal mode all that much. But now he's picking up this for the tournament, and I feel like he just has the chance to go really far if he puts in the time. And Matt's I feel like kind of newer to it as far as I know, and he's been doing really well for being somebody who I think is kind of new to the game.
Yeah, I think he started this tournament with around like possibly above 1 hour or just under it. So he's been improving a lot. Like you can see that with all of the like runners who's been a bit slower in the start of the tournament, they've gotten like so fast so quickly, and it's really fun to see. But now we need to talk about Emimi's outfit.
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the gray skin with the chunky potion, and the pigtails as well. Is it the pony?
Those are, I think those are the pigtails.
Is it? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, at least.
It's definitely interesting. Personally, if I played with that kind of a setup, I would probably play a lot worse. But I mean, it's possible. I mean, he's practiced with this, so.
Well, it did look like he wasn't really ready for it since he failed the ruby race 3 times, I think. Like the final jump and the damage boost right there. So might be a bit like off on the hitboxes, but who knows?
He's in a bit of trouble here with HP. Meanwhile, Matt's already gotten his Flutter Feather, so he's making his way into the next area. But Emimi's got that Demon Doomed experience. I'm sure he'll make it through just fine.
So there's nothing really interesting going on right now, except like omeghamatt's gotten the Flutter, so he kinda has 2 jumps, but not really. And the Mimi just got Flutter, but they're mostly just gonna do some pretty simple platforming and head to the next boss. Well, first boss, really.
Yeah, the platforming in this game kind of ramps up according to the abilities that you unlock. So early on, it's fairly simple. You've only got to jump, and then you get a jump and a flutter, and then later you start getting more obstacles as you get your double jumps, and so the game just kind of picks up each time you get an upgrade to match it and keep the difficulty fairly high. Matt's here at the second portal. He's going to do this cool trick where you leave the room and then come back, and that just lets you spawn an extra wave of enemies early, which cuts down the overall time that you spend fighting the enemies on this portal.
It's not because it's actually like faster, right? It's just because it's more consistent. Otherwise, you can get really terrible fire guys all over the place.
That's true.
That's what I heard Shark say, but effectively it saves time, since otherwise you would probably be spending a lot of time chasing fire guys.
Yeah, the fire guys, or the materializers as they're officially called, I believe, or is it Sharers? I can't remember anymore. But they tend to just be a speedrunner's worst nightmare in this game. They will just spawn kind of just wherever they want to, and you've got to chase them down. And if they don't spawn close to you, then they can eat up some time pretty fast.
Yeah, especially if they spawn in a place where you can't hit them, like under the Myogi arena. Sometimes you cannot reach them. So that can be annoying. But yeah, Myogi was down for Omega, and Emimi just started. So they're using Sloth here because it deals the most damage in a single burst. And Myogi thankfully only has, well, I don't know math now because reasons, but you can just swing her at her 3 times, it'll kill her. Unlike Pride, where you have to use 6 hits instead.
Yeah, so effectively having the Sloth weapon there cuts the boss length in half because you're able to deal the double damage for each hit. Okay, omeghamatt hitting this double turret room. There's a cool skip for that room coming up. Hopefully Emimi's going to give that a shot. We'll see how that goes, but Matt's got a bit of a lead here. And that can always change, because we have Pagora coming up who can throw RNG to you that you don't like and can take some extra time.
Okay, he's going for it. Oh, that was close.
Well, at least you gave it a shot. That's a pixel perfect jump to make, and it's pretty difficult, so...
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot. I know when I do it in runs and it's like sometimes get it out of nowhere, I actually get so confused that I go slower than usual, just because I don't know what to do from there. So it's super rare that anyone actually gets it, although you have been getting more consistent at it recently.
Yeah, I believe I found a setup for it. We'll see it as time goes on, if that's something that, like, I'm able to use in races effectively as well as others.
Hopefully we'll be able to see it. I don't think anyone's gotten it in the tournament so far. I'm not sure though.
Alright, so Matt entering Pagora, the first real boss of the game. This boss is mostly a bit of a glass cannon, though. You're just going to try to beat him up before he beats you up. And you can, for the most part, tank a lot of hits and just kind of wail on him. Depending on the attack you get, though, which the attack Matt's got right here is pretty good for that.
Yeah, he opened with one of the worst attacks, but the vomit attack is the best one. Like, if you do it correctly, you can kill him in a single one attack of his. Now Emimi got, is it the third or second best attack? Wind.
Wind, yeah, it's up there. It's one of those.
Because even though it's like not very fast, you need to use Lust to kill him during. It's such a long attack that you can kill him in one go as well, although it will take a bit longer since you can't have as high DPS as you could with the Envy.
Both of them kind of giving me a mini heart attack there, finishing up that boss. That was kind of scary on both ends, but they're out of Pagora and making their way now to the Terrestrial Veil. This area of the game begins with an auto-scroller, but they're going to use a trick here where they use a second jump from another save file to get over it. Otherwise, that thing lasts for, I think, close to a minute, and it's kind of just RNG-based.
And they're actually really close right now, because Omega, even though he was in the lead, he failed it once, so Emimi could catch up, but Emimi had some trouble with... well, I don't know if it's trouble, I mean, he did the airwalk. It was just swag. With the chest right there.
Alright, so what they're going to do here, you see Matt, he took the save point, and then he immediately reset. That's just to get rid of the Ruby backpack, as we like to call it. And then now he's going to go over and get the double jump feather from the villager, and then reset back to the save, because then he's going to make his trek up to the boss, Electram. And then if our runners are lucky and they play well, they're going to end up resetting back to that save after they fight the boss, because it just saves some backtracking. So we'll see how that goes for them.
So yeah, death warping, as we call it, is pretty common in this game. It's used in a lot of different places just because it's faster to attempt flawlessing a few sections and then just reset back to your original checkpoint instead of taking them all and then going back from further. So Omega, I don't think he took the save. I think he got it.
Yeah, I think he's going for it. Emimi is in a little bit of trouble with HP here. He may want... Oh, no. So Emimi's having a little trouble with the climb. It's a bit of a deficit now, but it's not something he can't recover from.
And that's the risk with the save skipping, since if you do actually die, you're gonna get sent back pretty far, since you won't take any checkpoints.
Alright, so Matt now on the Electram Enrage phase, where Electram just kind of sits on the cliff there and taunts you and throws lightning at you in a whole bunch of patterns. And you can't damage him until he comes back down. Oh, no. That was unfortunate. I have done that before.
Yeah, it feels really bad. Now Electram's down, we're gonna unlock a second weapon, you could say, since it's a ranged weapon now, where you shoot orbs, you have limited ammo, and they recharge a bit faster than 1 shot per second. And some bosses you have to use for it, like you have to use the orbs all the time, but others you will use it just to optimize damage when you can't hit them normally.
And I'm a little surprised that Mimi's still going for this off 10 HP, but I guess he knows what he's doing.
I think since he played a lot of Demon, his bosses will be really good, but his platforming might be a bit off since I don't think he's practiced too much for this tournament. So, I mean, so far this has been a really good Electrum, doing tons of damage on the running attack.
Absolutely. Matt going for one of the more difficult tricks in the game right there. You have to use these air vents that they feel honestly a little inconsistent. They're kind of tricky to work with. And you're trying to manipulate the game so that you can fall through the air that's pushing you up and then touch the ground to get your jumps back. And it's not as easy as you might think, but he was able to get it after a couple tries there. Now, Mimi getting double orbs back-to-back on Electrum, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that takes a lot of time since you can't damage him during his orbs attacks. The best attack is jump, since it's like easy to deal damage and you won't take any damage. But orbs is by far the worst attack.
All right, so Mimi's he got the death warp at the end. So Matt's making his way to the Veil 2 damage boost here. It's one of the most important damage boosts in the game. There he goes, right there. You got to take a bot from either an enemy or the obstacle, the windmill blade that's swinging around in circles, and then use that to boost you up in the air, so that then when you jump, you actually get a little bit more height than the game intends you to get, and so you're able to skip about half of this area.
Now for Omega it doesn't seem to be a problem whether it's the windmill or the bug that hits him, since he's going for the heart anyways. It's a safe strat that we've seen a lot of in this tournament, and it's really actually a smart move because this next section can be really stressful if you don't have enough HP.
Yeah, there's this windmill over here, and that thing does 35% of your HP and damage, and then every enemy that hits you does between 15 and 20 in this section. So you kind of need to like monitor your HP very carefully here. Ideally, you can just tank the windmill like you did right there. Just take that 35% hit and just fall through. It just makes it a little easier and faster. Gets through it okay in the end. Opting just to do the Troll Cave, though, not going for the Troll Cave skip, which that's just fine. It's a little bit slower, but it might be more consistent for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Troll Cave skip can be really hard, since you have to go in like half blind for a damage boost. So you go a lot by feeling, and you also need to time the entry and exit in the door to like the rock throwers. So if you do it a bit too late or a bit too early, you won't get hit by it, so you can't damage boost up. So we'll see if Emimi is deciding to go for it here.
Alright, so
deciding not to tank the windmill.
Yeah. He's probably just used to doing that on doomed modes. I know
Probably.
that's one way that I like to do it as well for the same reason. Looks like he's going to try to skip with the rock thrower there. You gotta manipulate the rock into going through the wall. He got the boost that time, didn't quite make it. Matt, in the meantime, is on Amethyst and is just waiting for this laser phase to go down. That just means that she's moving from a phase 1 to a phase 2 there, and she'll do it again later and move on to phase 3. And each time she has a increment in her phases with that laser, she actually speeds up and the attacks get a little bit more vicious.
And Amethyst can be a really hard boss sometimes, because if you get bad RNG, you can really get comboed by a lot of different attacks, and even the same attack hitting you multiple times. Just because things start getting really fast towards the end.
I also should point out that Matt did indeed skip the saves coming to the boss, so he'll be able to get another Death Warp time save at the end of this.
He's actually handling those amulets really well.
That was a pretty nice fight.
Good job.
Yeah, flawless on Amethyst is never easy. So he'll be making his way to the grottos. Meanwhile, Emimi having a little bit of trouble with that damage boost still. Props to him for not giving up on his strats, both with Electrum earlier and also with the Troll Cave skip here, trying to get the boost no matter what. What we're going to see here in the grottos is just a bunch of spiders and bats and shooting laser switches to turn off lasers so that you can proceed through the obstacle. So you've got kind of a timer once you shoot those switches to get through the lasers.
And here's one of the big problems with Grotto in the speedrun is that a lot of the saves are just out of place, so we really don't want to take them since it takes a bit of time. And we saw omeghamatt die and he got warped back all the way to the beginning because you just don't want to take these saves. It's pretty much like this for the entire Grotto, so you really want to be careful not to die here. One of the more costly areas to die in platforming.
It's one of those places where every checkpoint is just a little bit out of the way. Like you're gonna give up like 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds to grab each save point. And so you just, when you're practicing this area, you're thinking to yourself, I should be able to do this consistently, so I'm just going to skip those checkpoints. I can do this every time. And then sometimes in races you get nerves and things go wrong, but we'll see how this goes for both of our runners. Emimi trying to finish up this Amethyst fight. A little bit low on HP here. Doesn't want to take too many more hits.
He's actually going for the loss damage during the laser. That's pretty ballsy of him.
Yeah, it's definitely something. You're getting pretty nice attacks here. You just don't want to see the rocks attack when you're low on HP, because that can be pretty dangerous. Okay, so Emimi moves on past Amethyst, and omeghamatt gets past that save he was stuck on for a minute. So both of our runners making some progress here. We're only about a save and a half apart.
Yeah, it's not too far. On like half of Grotto, maybe, I would say. Gets through nicely. That's actually a really, really precise kind of laser puzzle right there, because even if you do it perfectly, you'll notice that the laser turns on at the end, like just as you pass through. So it's really precise to do well.
You'll also notice, just watched Emimi do it there, I think Matt did it earlier too, is you tank those mines, and those mines underwater, they do 50% of your HP, so you're basically taking half your HP and saying, I'm going to just take a shortcut here that saves a couple seconds. I'm meeting you with the swag backwards slides at the minecart to go underneath those spikes. And Matt dropping through that shortcut to make his way into the big underwater minefield, which he's skipping a save here to take this shortcut. And this is one of the more choke-heavy areas of the grotto because, again, the mines do 50% of your HP, and it's kind of precise going through these. And a lot of people will choose to tank an extra hit here, like we see right there. And
yeah, there's a lot of different strats for that area. You can either use a bat to damage boost through mines, or you can just tank them and hope for the best. But he got through beautifully, no problem.
Got through. He's taking the save. Some runners will opt to skip the save for this boss, depending on how comfortable they are with it. It's not the hardest boss for a speedrun once you're used to it. It's fairly difficult first playthrough, though.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different things happening. You have the saw blade on the ground, you have these missile walls, you have fire bombs, which will get launched, and if you don't shoot them out of the air, they will, like, carpet bomb the entire ground, almost. And these fires won't go out at all, so you need to keep them for the rest of the fight. It makes it a lot harder to not take damage if you have the fires out.
I wasn't sure if Emimi was trying to set up for Bernice strats there. Bernice the Bat, which is kind of a new thing people are trying out these days, which is to take the bat under the water and then take a hit from it intentionally to get through the mines without actually taking a full hit from the mines. And Emimi, I'm not sure if that was a cutscene glitch or...
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Is it an ode to Bernice, or is it just AFK, maybe? Or cutscenes? We should have been able to go out of it right now, though.
Alright, so...
Okay.
omeghamatt takes down Dark Annihilator, moving on to the next area of the game. And Emimi got past the chest.
Oh, it's gonna be a bit scary now. And he gets it.
Alright, so the section Matt's on here is actually probably the section where most people are going to play risky Oh no, Mimi's taking that extra hit from that mine. That's very unfortunate. At the very end, too.
And you get put back so far since you skipped, what is it, like 3 saves usually? Possibly even 4 if you don't take the one right before the boss.
You can see Matt there, he takes that extra save right here that most people will opt to skip. I think maybe he's thinking, you know, I'm having some trouble with these long segments, and I'm seeing Emimi is too. I'm going to take myself a bit of some extra safety and just make sure that I keep my lead.
Yeah, like, save strats in a race is really understandable, because there's just a lot of nerves and you never know what your opponent is doing unless you're watching the stream. But it's I would say it's definitely smart to take some of the save strats at least. Since if you die, like, your opponent just needs to not die and they'll be in the lead.
So here we have this long section on the minecart for omeghamatt. Gotta hit switches on the way. It's not too bad though. The next minecart's a lot slower. And you got stuff shooting at you. You gotta clear that out.
It's gonna do drive-by.
That would be neat to see. Somebody better do drive-by this tournament.
I've done it.
Did you?
Yep.
Good job, Lead.
I died once as well, so that was the thing. Doesn't look like he's going for it. Oh well. Mimi's still having some trouble though with these mines. Hopefully he'll get past it this time.
I really think it's possible that he's just struggling with the different sprite and the hitbox on it, is definitely going to be a bit different. Anyway, as Emimi's entering Dark Annihilator, now with 50% HP, omeghamatt is on Terravine. Tell us about Terravine, Lead.
Terravine is probably one of the bosses where you will play the greediest in the entire game, because you really want to utilize your HP as a resource, since you can tank through a lot of different attacks if you get the right RNG. And also you have these minecarts, which you use to interrupt his one-shot laser that he was charging up a bit ago. And they do a damage as well, so optimally you want to take all 3 of them. But if you're not feeling comfortable with your damage, you should also save one, as Omega did here. Like, he knows how he's gonna play Terravine, so him choosing to keep minecart is just the right thing. Otherwise he would just have get one shot right there, because laser does 100 damage, and it's like instant, covers the entire screen, so you can't dodge it.
Yeah, that was a fairly scary Terravine kill. Getting low on HP there, had to dodge the spikes like a madman, but he got through it okay. Emimi is a bit low on HP with the Dark Annihilator fight as well. Remember, he entered this fight with 50% HP. Clears it out just fine. So both of our runners, we're now about a boss apart. Or a segment of heart, I guess I should say, which is it's a few minutes of a lead that Matt's built up here.
Yeah, a few pages.
A few pages. So now we're on Underworld. We're going to deal with these new enemies, the skeletons and the trees. Which the trees you kind of want to either just ignore and run past, or sometimes you have to fight them.
The trees are also really annoying because, unlike other enemies, he's going for Essie. Oh, he didn't get it. But the trees, if they hit you, you will actually get launched back quite a bit by them. So they are really annoying compared to other enemies when they hit you. And you also have these skeletons that lock onto your position, and then they dash towards you really fast. But you can do some pretty fun stuff with them that we'll probably see later on. Absolutely.
And so, gotta give props to Emimi for trying the Essie skip. Unfortunately, having some trouble with things. And Matt now on the portal. So this is the Underworld portal. It's the last portal in the game. We haven't seen any since the very first area. This one's a lot more difficult. We got to deal with these skeletons that come out of the portal and aim themselves at you. And then fire guys and convicts that are ambushing you from all sides. It's kind of scary. But as a reward for this, he's going to pick up the ability to now use dash wings, which you now can just press your action button, which you use for both sliding and fluttering. Once you pick up a feather or a wing that's in the air, you'll now be able to do a dash that goes in some insane speed and distance. And then we can combine that with a flutter to do some pretty ridiculous things.
probably gonna see it pretty soon. You can also get it accidentally, which will, where omeghamatt is right now, if you flutter too early, you will actually just get launched down into those spikes, so it works both ways. Either it can be used for strats, or it can be used to ruin your run.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a knife's edge there.
Looks like Emimi is gonna be heading towards Terravine soon. Oh, I didn't get it.
Unfortunately, he did a flutter there before he did a slide, so lost a bit of his time. Again, these puzzles are kind of precise on timing, and they're not really friendly to you if you make a mistake on movement. If you accidentally jump or flutter or do something that you're not supposed to do to get through it, you usually don't have enough time. And Matt's on one of the trickier saves in the game where you've got to go through this air vent and then drop out and then use your flutter at just the right moment and then catch one of those wings and dash, and it's kind of scary.
I'd say it's actually one of the hardest, like, flutter jumps, if you want to call it that, in the entire game, because it's very precise.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you drop too far down, your flutter will take momentum from your fall, so you will actually just... Oh, Emimi. So you will actually fall down into the spikes, even though you flutter. But now he's on Craterack and rocks. Let's see how he does. Ogre rocks.
Again, one thing with Craterack about this boss is you're trying to stay away from him because, well, his attacks tend to like reach pretty far across the screen, and it's just easier to dodge if you are away from him. But when you get the rocks attack, you're trying to hit the rocks back at the boss because they do a ton of damage compared to your orbs. But the rocks aim at you, and so the best way to set up the attack to do damage is to be close to the boss. So it's kind of you have to decide, like, based on how comfortable you are with things, if you want to commit to being as close as you can and then back up when you have to, or if you just want to play it safe and stay back. And I think we'll see that will vary based on the comfort level of each player.
Also on Craterack, if you stand close to him and hits you with one of these lunge attacks, you will get sent flying across the entire screen, and you will probably fall down into the fire floor as well. So it can be really dangerous because he can combo you into a lot of damage in just one move. Oh, did he get...
This is an interesting situation.
Yeah, this is... I don't know... Well, now we know.
Now we know what happens with that. So he defeated the boss there during a transition, which I actually haven't really seen before. Usually the boss gets taken out quite a ways before that, so that was pretty interesting. Looks like the boss does some wonky things and then the portal appears anyway. But the biggest problem there was the platform stopped spawning because he was like the game wants you to start dashing to the left. And so that gave me a heart attack, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I wasn't sure if he was gonna get it, but Emimi, he went for Lustrats, one of the few players who's done it in this tournament, because if you get hit by one of Terravine's spores, you can either get poisoned, which isn't too bad, you can get paralyzed, which will most likely get you killed, or you get sleep, which will most definitely get you killed. So he went for it. I think he also had some trouble with him launching the minecarts, because it looked like he was gonna go for 3, but he realized he was just wasting damage since he was trying to jump up back to the 3rd one.
Yeah, the minecarts can kind of like almost glue you to their surface, and so it's kind of this weird situation sometimes where you barely clip into a minecart instead of landing on top of it, and then the minecart carries you and you can't jump out. And so then by the time you get to the boss, it's like, well, do you go back and grab the minecart, or do you just stay there and do damage and then, you know, use the 3rd minecart later to stay alive? And so I think Emimi opted to do that as opposed to the other.
That's also something in this game that you can notice. If it's anything that moves, it's gonna be pretty wonky, because it's the same with the bone snakes that come later on. I'm gonna talk about those later, but the minecarts, as you said, they can glue you, and similar things can happen later on as well.
Alright, so Matt here on this cool room with a centaur and fire guys, and if you are very fast, you can get through the fog wall there after one fire guy. That looked like a 2-cycle to me, but I couldn't tell because the stream kind of stuttered.
Oh, that was a nasty fire guy.
But so now Matt's going to be taking this conving. He's not going to take that save point there. Instead, he's going to try to set up for a damage boost here, which you can use to get over the boss. Unfortunately, a little bit too low there. It's kind of precise, like the spot you have to stand to make that work. And then you can just full on hold right, and then just do your 2 double jumps and a flutter. And you'll take a hit from the boss's hitbox, but then you'll barely make it over the trigger that spawns the boss.
Yeah, it's pretty precise, since depending on where you stand, and now Omega is using the grass setup, where you stand on the little piece of grass there, and then you have to be holding right the entire time. And I think that's his problem right now. He's not holding right the entire time. He starts a bit late, so he just barely touches the end of the trigger.
I also think it looks to me like he's maybe not using a full double jump, but he's maybe canceling his first jump a little bit too soon.
I don't know. He looks like he's waiting for a good portal cycle or something.
That sounds like some next level strats. There's actually a crazy strat you can do on this portal that we've experimented with. I know me and Frazlo at one time were looking into it, where what you can do is you can drop into the portal from above, and then like as soon as it spawns, you can just jump back up, and you can just spawn convings and recycle like the first wave over and over and over and over. And then like once you have like a whole bunch of them, go down there and beat them all up so that you can get a ton of HP off the portal just from the convings.
I had no clue about
We
that.
ended up deciding it really wasn't worth it, but it was a kind of a cool idea.
I must say though, Emimi, he used a bit of different strat for the skeleton first kill. He actually used Pride, and he got a really fast kill on it. So I think that's his doomed skills showing through. It was good, like very good.
And I think it's what you said earlier about Emimi being good on bosses. He's also very good on like manipulating enemies and dealing with the combat. His struggle seems to be the platforming, and I think that's kind of what we expected in a way. He hasn't really practiced the platforming in this game as much. He really loves the boss fights, though. Matt gets past the AC skip finally, makes his way to the Acropolis. So we're going to be seeing some different stuff here. This area gets kind of interesting really fast with the library skip once we get there.
That was a crazy fast dash wing before Craterak from Emimi. So let's see, Craterak. I don't like this boss. It's annoying.
It's an interesting boss. And I think Mimi's going to get a better setup here for the rocks. So 4 rocks, pretty good. Gets that damage in pretty solidly.
I would say the average is around 3 rocks for like almost every runner. So getting 4 rocks, it's hard, especially since it's actually spawned a bit weirdly for Emimi, the first one. A bit far back, but he got it, no problem.
Matt making that library skip first try, so despite his trouble with the AC skip earlier, he's showing he's got some skills, man. He got through that skip no problem, made it look easy.
It's so satisfying when you see someone get library skip. Because it's just so clean, like everything works out. Oh, didn't realize what didn't reset there. You can either choose reset on the elevator, or you can just go with the cycle. It can get a bit scary sometimes, but it's a tiny bit faster.
Yeah, it doesn't matter too much, just as long as you practice it, as long as you know what the cycle's like, because you don't want to get like to the top and they get confused, because that can make things kind of scary, especially when you have the double skeletons appear and you're not standing in the right spot. Mimi was showing off some swag there on Craterak too. He was doing the dashes at the top of the screen and basically made the platform spawn higher than usual. It was kind of weird. Not sure if I had seen that before. So while he's doing the 3 keys, Matt is at that part of the elevator that has all the swirly black holes. So that's the part that's cycle based, and we'll see how he handles these skeletons. You can either take out one of them and then just jump through the wall once the other's off screen, or you can just slow down and take them both out. He's opting to do that. It's kind of a safer way to do it, and he's got enough of a lead here. He probably doesn't care.
Yeah, the thing about the fog walls is that they actually don't check if the enemies are alive. They just check, is anything on screen alive right now? So you can, in a lot of cases, just bring enemies off screen and then go past the fog wall because it despawns. Also, I don't know, Emimi's top key strat was pretty fucking fast. Oh, sorry, that was bad.
Yeah, it was fast. Emimi's got some swag he's pulling out. Also looks like he's having to stop here a lot. I feel like it's possible he's got some distractions in real life that are keeping him from giving this race his full attention right now, which is a little unfortunate. Matt here on Myogi 2 looks like he's setting up for the enrage skip, so he's gonna heal the boss 6 times or so at the start, depending on what strat or what variety of the strat you're going for. And then that just puts your HP at the right point so that you can, at exactly 40% HP, skip the enrage phase on the same frame that it begins.
Mimi's having a bit of a trouble here with the middle key section. He's dashing just too early. Sadly, Omega is having a bit of lag right now. I want to see if he gets it.
Looks like he's setting up for the skip right here. We're going to see in just a moment.
I think he got it.
Yeah, yep. Looks like. So he got the enrage skip, so that's about a 40-second time save. And saves us from having to watch Myogi just kind of do stuff for a minute without being able to fight back.
Yeah, Myogi's enrage is terrible. It's kind of like Electrum's enrage, but it just feels a lot worse to get it because you know you can't skip it, unlike Electrum. So Omega getting it is really, really nice. Saves a lot of time, and he's got to pull away from Mimi a bit. So see if Mimi's got to get past this soon.
Yeah, I still wonder if Mimi's just struggling with the hitbox difference on the sprite. Or the hitbox isn't really different, but like the way you perceive it is probably a lot different. I know he usually plays as the Ruby potion, the sassy potion.
I'm not sure, like, is the chunky potion a bit taller? Because it looks like it is. Just the sprite for it.
I'm not sure.
It might just be the belly throwing me off, but...
I think the belly would throw me off. So Matt doing the gateway here to the chambers. He's got to go up, and let's see how he does on the password room. It's hoping for a first try here. This is one of the most difficult challenges in the game. Oh my gosh, gets it first try. Unbelievable. Seeing some incredible skill here.
We have some conspiracy theories in chat going on that when Emimi stops, he's actually DDoSing Matt. So, who knows? Who knows? I wonder if he's gonna switch from Chunky soon. Like, will he commit to it, or is he gonna switch?
So far, I might be the only person who's switched, like, outfits on the fly in a race.
So Omega's doing the reverse elevator, as I call it, and where you have the ceiling chasing you with spikes on top of it. It can feel really hectic when you do it first, but like when you played a bit of it, it usually doesn't get too bad. I'd say these sections coming up are worse since you have to like deal with the spikes moving around, especially the next page. It's not too easy. It's kind of precise to do it. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, this section right here, just the timing whenever you hit that switch and the spikes to go up and down, it's fairly precise, and looks like he's not having too much trouble with it, but just messed up a little bit at the end.
Also, the timing changes since you get closer and closer to the switch, meaning your orbs have to travel less. So it can be kind of strange doing it, especially if you're a first timer. But our runners, they have practiced a lot, so they know what to do.
Alright, so here we're seeing a trick from Matt where the centaurs, they actually target your horizontal location on the screen, and then they just jump for it. And because the last or from the last place that you touched the ground, sorry. So because Matt was standing on top of a crumbly platform, and then that went away, and he stayed in the air until the centaur decided to jump. The centaur actually jumped to the spot where the crumbly platform was, and then just goes off the screen, falls down, and isn't a problem anymore. And those are pretty beefy enemies, so it's definitely faster to do that than to try to take them out with your weapon.
I think AC skip for Mimi might be a bit hard, like with the chunky potion, because it can be precise. So getting the right setup, especially what you're used to, can be real strange. But he gets it, no problem.
And Mimi showing you what's up, Lude.
Tried to commentator curse him, but he just blocked me. And now Omega, he's doing the normal way, or intended way, of killing this boss, Twin Orcs. Usually runners go for the quick kill, but it is hard, and you need to spend a lot of time to learn it. And by all means, this boss is hard, like even if you do it the intended way. But it's really well done, because like everything just flows on so smoothly. Gets the second best in range attack here, so he's got a lot of HP left. I think he's gonna get it.
Yeah, he's looking pretty solid on it. It's one of those things where we see so many people do the quick kill nowadays, because the quick kill, it actually does the boss before there's an enrage phase like that where they just kind of stand at the sides. And because we see so many people do the quick kill and so many people just practice that, it feels like when people commit to the standard kill, it a lot of times they're not quite practiced up on it. But it looks like Matt's pretty solid. He knows what he's doing.
Here. Yeah, he's got a lot of HP left, and red is down, so just purple left. And there we go.
And Oryx is also one of the bosses that you are allowed to take a double kill on, so he just, as soon as that cut, or as soon as the achievement pops up, just takes the reset there to skip the death animation of the boss and move on.
And now he's gonna enter the hardest platforming area of the game, which is Path of Decay. It has long saves, and pretty much all of them have hard platforming as well. So a death here is very costly, and the boss coming up can also be very dangerous, especially if you haven't played this game as much. So we might see Emimi doing a bit better on Azrael, just because of his doomed stuff, and well, he played a bit of demon as well, so we'll see how this works out in the end. He's having a bit of trouble with library skip though. Okay, apparently I can just commentators bless him. I can't curse him.
You know, I think a lot of the runners would appreciate the commentator's blessing over the commentator's curse. So just keep that up, Lude. I think you've got something going for you.
I'm gonna try.
I think that's good. So Matt here has to hit that switch in the middle multiple times to lower the wall to the right so that he can get through. And then here you got to defeat all these enemies to lower the fog wall, the purple wall, so that you can progress through the platforming. So Path of Decay kind of just, it makes, like we talked about earlier with the Sinister Grotto, there's a lot of puzzly stuff. This area is very puzzly, but it's also very difficult. It kind of combines some of the more extreme difficulty with some of the more extreme puzzling to make a pretty wild area. Matt's having a little trouble here with this section. Depending on your strats, some of these rooms can be very tough.
Yeah, that last, well, not last, but the flutter you do where you go under these spikes is really precise, because if you go too high, you're gonna get eaten, and if you go too low, you just won't get enough height to go up in the end. Ooh, doesn't touch the platform. Even though this is only like one screen, this puzzle room, you lose a lot of time if you die, especially in the end, just because you have to redo everything that you've done before.
And now after getting past that puzzle, you got to come over here and fight all these enemies, which shouldn't be a problem. He's got plenty of HP, takes them out just like that. And now he's making his way to one of the more infamous saves of the game. We call it the climb. So you're jumping up on all these crumbly platforms, and you have just enough to basically get up there, but not really enough to fall down and get back up. So you've got to be pretty careful with managing how many areas you have to stand as you go up. And then at the end, you have all these other enemies that spawn, And Matt does it first try, so that's pretty impressive. Makes his way to the bone snakes now, where we get it's kind of an auto scroller, but it's a little treacherous.
And now these bone snakes, they can be a bit awkward sometimes because you can actually get kind of stuck in them, and it can be annoying, especially on the second bone snake coming up right here. He's probably not going to do the swag snake, but we can hope.
Mimi's still having trouble with the platforming on that elevator, and just it's giving him some trouble. I think Mimi's hopefully he's having fun, but that's probably a little painful at this point.
I think he has fun when he gets to the bosses, otherwise not so much, because especially dying at these sections, and especially when you try to do swag strats and you die, it feels bad.
It looks like he's just having fun trying to find creative ways to do stuff. Matt's now on the space meatball area, as we like to call it. He got the demon form feather, now he's able to turn into this little demon meatball looking thing and fly. The way it works is you have a certain amount of gas, pretty much, which is represented by the red circle around the character, and then there's little bits of flame that you can pick up to restore that gas so that you can go farther. Otherwise you'll run out. So it's kind of timed on, you have to do the puzzle in a certain amount of time with the demon character before you'll just turn back into V and fall and hit the spikes.
And the final meatball maze is actually pretty precise. Like, you can't waste any movement since you will run out of gas going for the last heart. But Matt just beat it first try, so good job.
And here, this room's a little tricky. You've got to wait for this brute character to turn around as he's walking, and then stay out of his sight, or else he'll stun you with his laser. And so you've got to stay above his line of sight until it's safe to go.
There are a few strats you can do to make that room really quick, but they are precise, and I wouldn't blame anyone for not going for them. Especially the flutter over the spikes. It's very precise. Like, if you time it just a bit wrong, you're gonna get eaten. Now Azrael. It is probably the second hardest boss in the game, just because there's a lot going on. You have these platforms that will drop when she tells them to. You have the portal going around the screen, and the red crystals and the blue crystals. So you have to dodge a lot of different things, and there's also portals that spawn that will get bigger and bigger the longer they stay there. So optimally you want to get them to spawn on one side, since then they won't... She can't spawn above 3, I think. But if they spawn in the middle and you let them grow too big, you probably won't have any arena space to fight Azrael in left. So you really have to manage the entire fight really well. Especially your damage, since when you damage Azrael, she gets this blue shield, and if you damage her too much, she'll get the red shield, and then she is invulnerable for a short amount of time. So you have to manage a lot of different things in this fight. Now, Matt has a lot of HP. The portals shouldn't be a problem for him, since they are off to the other side of the arena, so I think he's gonna get this one. Unless gravity decides to be horrible.
Just got word from Emimi, actually. He's having some issues with real life right now, and he's been getting distracted by stuff, so he's actually choosing to forfeit from the race. He's not going to have time to finish.
Okay. Well, that's a bit sad, but still, like, Emimi's boss fights has been great. He has had a bit of trouble with platforming, but it was still a good attempt from him, especially since he's getting distracted by other things in real life. Do you know if he will be coming for an interview or not?
I think probably not.
Okay.
But we'll see if he does decide to join in. In the meantime, Matt's making his way here in the part of the Baneful and is heading to the next boss. We got this cool room here with a bunch of enemies we gotta clear out on the way. And while you're doing this, you have to run from this poison gas, which once it catches you, it'll slowly kill you. So you got to go kind of fast here to stay ahead of that while you take these enemies out and do this platforming. It's not too difficult, this section, but it's definitely choky sometimes.
Especially since there's a lot of different enemies chasing you around, so thankfully I have Amethyst helping you, but yeah, there's a lot of things that can kill you. And now J1, he's probably one of the easier bosses compared to where he is in the game, but it can be kind of hard doing him very fast, since you need to hit all of the 3 spikes that he's gonna pull up out of the ground soon. Probably, no, yeah. If you hit all of these, especially if you get him in his face, he will take a lot of damage. And I think that's the biggest improvement you can do in this fight, except enemy strats, because you can actually use another weapon which will give you faster damage, but it is hard to do. Looks like Omega's having no problem so far. Taking a bit of damage here. Oh, no. Now correct me if I'm wrong. The more his enrage bar has in it, the more damage his attacks will do, right?
Not sure if the damage does. For sure the speed of the boss increases. You might be right on that, though. I guess I haven't paid attention to that before.
I don't think the spikes do 30 damage each.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Looks like we're gonna get an enrage phase.
I was actually wondering there if he was gonna get the boss down in time. But yeah, so the enrage phase, this is something that happens when you fill that yellow meter up all the way. As we mentioned, the boss will speed up significantly, and he might do more damage. And then once the enrage phase is over, he kind of resets and slows back down. It's just something you want to avoid because it's kind of a long phase of standing still.
And especially since he can heal during it as well. These eyes that he sometimes pulls forth, if you don't shoot them back at him and destroy them, once he gets his enrage phase, all of the eyes that you didn't destroy will get sucked into the portal and they will heal him. So you can lose a lot of time if you get a terrible enrage phase. But still though, Matt is actually on a really good run.
Yeah, looking for a pretty strong time here. Supreme Jail, so this boss is definitely one of the more crazy bosses. It's very complex, maybe the most complex. There's...
Yeah, and Matt just decides to reset there because you don't want to do this fight with low health. It's hard.
It's both a long fight and it's also very scary, and there's a lot of points where you want to trade HP for damage, so it's understandable if you take an early hit that it might be better to just take that reset right away, give yourself an even chance from the very beginning.
And so you see these green orbs dropping down. They aren't actually there to heal you from the damage that the boss itself does to you. They're to mitigate the damage you take from just being in the arena, because you have this constant poison aura that will damage you during the entire fight, so you have to pick these orbs up to not just die from poison. So far it's looking good though, because I don't think he's taken any damage from the boss.
Yeah, he's managing his HP pretty well, which is great, because not quite getting the quick enrage, but I mean, we'll be on the enrage phase soon, and that's where you really want to have that HP, because the boss starts doing double waves with lasers and the blue orbs, and so taking damage sometimes just becomes faster to do, because otherwise you spend half the time just trying to dodge stuff. So you want to take those extra hits so you can get more damage in on the boss.
I don't know, is he waiting for... Yeah, he was waiting for the dive. Because if you enrage Jeul on an attack that's not this ice attack, things can get strange. He can just decide to go really low, and basically he can hit you wherever you are, just because he's super low on the arena, so you can't dodge some of his attacks sometimes.
Yeah, in general, he's playing a very safe fight here right now. He's going for that third dive for the enrage. He's kind of managing his health orbs really well, not trading his HP for damage. He's not worried about doing this boss as fast as he can right now. He's just trying to play it safe, which is perfectly fine.
Now you have these, during the range phase, you have these worms spawning whenever he does this, like, slide attack on the ground. And they actually do more damage than the boss, and they have... Oh, that was a really close kill. That
was crazy. That was insane. At the end, I was worried, man, but when that worm spawned, and he also, mind you, he was on top of one of those circles in the background, that when it turns purple, it lights you on fire. So he was on fire, he took a hit from the worm, and he was in the face of the boss about to do its next attack, and he had like 10 HP left, and he pulls it out. That was
clutch.
That was cool.
And finishing 2 minutes and 4 seconds behind his PB, that's really good. That's a good run.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good run for a race situation. So GG to omeghamatt. Everybody get your GGs in chat.
Good job.
We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview in just a moment. And don't let your eyes deceive you. The omeghamatt is the winner of that race, unfortunately, since Emimi had to forfeit out.
I think he's gonna be joining soon. That was a great run, and oh well, hello.
Yeah, as soon as we get Matt in here with the voice, I think he's got to probably get his mic figured out, and then we can have an interview. But yeah, it was just a solid run in general. I think. There you are, omeghamatt. Congrats on the win. Nice job.
That was a really clutch J2 at the end.
Yeah, I just went for it. I knew I had like 50 HP, so I went for it, and
you had probably around 5 HP right at the end, and it was insane. Good job. And also, like, 2 minutes and 4 seconds behind your PB, that's a really good run.
yeah, the most of the time I lost at AC skip. I had trouble again.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And probably somewhere on the amethyst split, I think.
Do you have anything you want to say about your run that would stood out to you in particular?
I'm glad I finally got a 50 something pace, so.
Yeah, I mean, a 53, and honestly, without the Veil 2 deaths and the AC skip issues, like, that was a PB pace run for you.
PB pace before the race too, so I think I can make it sub 50, perhaps on the tournament, on next match.
Absolutely, you're looking in form. I mean, everything else looks really solid. You decided to take it pretty safe, both on, I noticed on J2, obviously you weren't trading your HP for damage until the very end, which was a cool decision. But you were playing it very safe and managing your health really well until the end. Craterack, you were choosing to play safe. You missed some damage on the rocks as a result, but tell us about that. Tell us about that Craterack finish, because that was kind of scary.
Honestly, I'm not sure what happened. I got hit by a dying Craterack, and I'm not sure where I landed.
We think you killed him like just as he was about to enter the 4th phase, and things got a bit weird because the platforms didn't spawn and his body was still there, so you had to kind of go into it. But I actually had no clue that could happen, so good job for showing us something new.
Yeah, I was actually unsure if the portal was even going to spawn there or what was going to happen, and you chose to stay close to the boss as opposed to dashing to the left. And I guess you made the right decision, because you got the portal and you got out of there. But yeah, good game to you, Matt. That was a fun race to watch, and you did well. And unfortunately, Emimi had the forfeit out. He was having some issues with real life, as well as it sounded like he had some major FPS drops on his computers too. So he was not enjoying himself. He decided to quit out. So you get the win regardless. And so what do you think heading into next week?
Well, I will practice a bit more and hopefully I will PB on the race, sub 50.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that. Be hoping to see you get that PB. I'm always rooting for people to get their personal bests improved. So that was it for that race, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like coming up here in about an hour, actually, we have another Wings of V race today. Over on Speed Gaming 3, it looks like. It's going to be Ziggy versus Red's Toad. And that sounds like a pretty cool matchup. And then tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on Speed Gaming 5, we have scheduled Shark versus Canaris. And that's going to be one of the bigger races of this week. So if you want to watch just one race, that might be one of the ones to watch.
Oh yeah, they're some of the best runners in this game, so we'll probably be able to see some really cool strats and some good execution as well. So we're gonna hope that's gonna be really good, and I don't know, I want to thank the runners, of course, Speed Gaming. I want to thank Cake for being here with me today. And you can go ahead and follow the runners and the commentators if you want to. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Our runners are great people, and despite the fact that Mimi had the forfeit out, still he's an awesome guy. We love him, and definitely is somebody worth following. And Matt, as he's pushing for his PB, I mean, he's looking really strong, so definitely check him out. And then Lude also is a very good runner of this game, so I recommend you drop him a follow. He likes to do runs of this from time to time, and he's pushing for some good times. He might even be going for a low 40 time or a sub 40.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, I think that does it for us for now, and hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Once again, thanks also to Speed Gaming for helping us out with the restreams. They are awesome, and hope you guys check out their channels for all the things they do, because what they're doing is amazing. But see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.